Hey everybody, I've got a fun little project to share with you guys today using my new stamps from my romance novel line that just came out with Prima. This one is the text stamp. It's normally used as like a background stamp or a texturing stamp, but I'm going to do something really cool with it, and I'm going to show you guys how to make some custom stamps that say things like this. This one says love it. This one says date. And then there's journey. Oh yeah. My son says that a lot when he's excited, so I wanted a stamp that says that. And then there's just one that has the little brackets so you can write whatever you want in the middle. But you can do your name, you could do anything custom using these stamps just by cutting them apart. And I'll show you what they look like when you're done. I'm using these little glass gems. This is what I use for soldering, but you can use anything that is glass or acrylic that's flat back and see-through, or you can use wood blocks if you wanted to. Anything that you can use just as a hard surface to glue your stamps to. So this is what the Oh Yeah one looks like, and it's clear. And I used, to glue mine down, I used scrap dots, the last of what I've got left, I think. So I used scrap dots. And then you're going to need a rotary trimmer. I use this Fiskars one because I have small children and I don't want them to get cut, and it has this safety feature. That's funny. Safety feature where I'm laughing at that because my mom's Filipino and her accent switches her P's and her F's, so I just think it's funny. Anyway, so here's the little blade. It slides. This little plastic piece slides up so you can't cut yourself, and then you just slide it down like that when you're going to use it, and the blade pops up. So these are really cool. So what you do is you take your stamp and you basically cut it all apart, and the cool thing about this blade is it fits in between all the little grooves. So you can see there are some letters in here. Let me show you on this one. There are some letters in here that have the accents. Well, I don't want the accents on there, the little accent symbols, so I just cut them off with the blade because the blade fits in between those itty bitty tiny spaces, and it's perfect. So I'm going to start cutting this one apart. I've already got one started, and the one that I'm making right now is going to say check yes or no, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done, but it's really, really cool, and I think you guys are going to like it. These are all my scrap alphas from the last stamps that I used, but I made like 10 stamps with just one of these because I designed these so that all of the vowels have a bunch of repeats so you can make a bunch of words. So now I'm going to cut this one apart. I've already got the check yes or no part with little brackets so you could put a check mark next to it. And now I just need 2 C's and an H. So I'm just going to look on here and find a C and an H. And I'm going to set this right next to it so I know exactly where it is so I can find it right away. So there's a C right there on the 3rd row. And just making sure I could see it on here, or I guess I gotta flip it because I've got it backwards. So it's right here. So I'm gonna take my blade, and I usually just cut down the whole row. And so I just cut my stamp in half. It cuts really, really easily with this blade. And then I'm gonna cut the row that the C is in. I need a capitalized C and a lowercase c, and this stamp set has all the caps and lowercases, which is cool. Alright, so A, B, C. And I cut really close to the letter so that I get a nice clean image. So there I've got a C. So I'm going to stick that right over here. And then I need a lowercase c, so I'm going to put this back together. I'm going to find my lowercase c, which is right about right there. So I know it's in this row, so I'm just going to slice down that whole row. And I'm just going slow because I don't want to cut any of my letters because I know I'm going to use them. And then just double checking that that is the C. And I'm sure you can use an X-Acto knife with this too. It might be a little bit harder. Oh, I already had a C on there. So I've got an extra C. Alright, I need the H, that's what I need. So a lowercase h is on that same row right here. All right, got my H. Now I'm going to set these aside really quick. And I'm just cutting any extras around the edges so I could bump these up close to each other when I glue them. So they're kind of fun to make too. And I'll use them over and over again, especially if they're custom stamps and they say exactly what I want them to say. So now you're going to take some scrap dots and your glass piece, and you're going to flip it over. And this takes a while to dry, but it really bonds well to glass. So that's why I like it. So I put a big blob on there, and I just want to flatten it out. So I'm taking the little clear piece that my stamp had, and I'm just flattening out the glue a little bit on there. So now I've got a nice surface of glue, and then I'm just going to position all my stamps where I want them to be. So I'm going to start with the check yes or no part, the part that says yes or no. And I've got my little brackets here, and my tweezers, here they are. So now remember, you're working backwards, so you got to be careful how you place these. So if I stamp it, this is going to need to go on the right side. So because I'm using really small glass pieces, I'm probably going to have to make this a 2-stamp set. And the cool thing about the scrap dots is you could slide them around on there. And now I'm going to work on writing yes. And they don't have to be perfect. The text is so cute. It's so tiny that you can get away with making them a little crooked and it'll just look grungy. Alright, and then now I'm going to do the no part. And I use the fancier little brackets on this one. So you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in a second. But there is a bunch of these on there, so. And you get all the punctuation in the stamp too, and numbers, which is cool. And I just forgot to cut the excess off of this O, so I'm just going to flip it around to get it closer to that N. Alright, so now you want to wait for the scrap dots to dry, and I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm going to stamp one for you so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. It'll stick on there long enough to get a little stamp out of it. So if I'm stamping it on a tag, of course you wouldn't normally stamp this on a tag. So see, it says yes or no, it's got the little brackets, and then now you can see if it's crooked, so you could slide them around and make them nice and straight, which I'm going to do because that's going to drive me nutso. So I'm going to look at where my letters are a little bit crooked on the stamped image, and I'm just going to straighten them out just a little bit. And I'm going to move my brackets around and make sure those are straight. And then now I'm going to let that completely dry. And then on the second stamp, I'm going to do the same thing that I did before, put a little blob of scrap dots on there. Go back to that same spot, flatten it out a little bit, and kind of scrape it off with the edge a little. And then I'm going to write, or I'm going to do the word check. So don't forget, you're working backwards here. So this is going to be a 2-piece stamp, but if you have a bigger block, you could definitely fit it all on one. But I'll show you a really cool idea that I just thought of on what's great about this being separate. It's a little tedious, but for the most part, I'm getting it done pretty quick, don't you think? Woo! What was that? All right, this is my little C. Yeah, I just need the K. That would be the train. We're at the studio right now, and there's a train that runs about a block away. All right, so this one says check, and I'll show you what the idea is right now. So I kind of moved them a little bit, so I'm going to be a little careful because the glue is still wet. So here's the idea, is you stamp the word check, just like that, and then you take your yes or no stamp. I'm inking it up off camera real quick. And then you could do the yes or no, like that. So you do check on the side and then yes or no like that, or you could do check on top. You could change it up any way you want. So that's kind of the cool thing about doing 2 separate stamps for this piece. But now I'm going to make a bunch of little phrases that say, like, do you love me, or did you have fun, or, you know, just simple little words with question marks so that you can add it to this little piece and make cute little journaling cards. And here's another quick idea, is there's these really cute ticket stamps that Prima makes, and the idea that I had, this one's a Christmas one. Obviously, I want to use it more than just for Christmas, so I'm just going to cut out the little Christmas piece and just use the ticket, or you can cut out the entire middle and just use the frame to make some blank tickets if you want. So there are some custom stamp ideas.